Good day, listeners from around the world. This is James Jordan coming at you for another edition of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. I believe it's season 4, episode. I believe this is episode 11. And
really, we've done 11 episodes.
Yes.
This year?
Yes,
Wow.
it should have been more, I think, though. But this is recorded for the week of June 13th, 2021. And we're here with Michael Wallace and Charlie Hamilton, our co-hosts for the evening of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. We're just chilling tonight, just relaxing, talking about some racing.
Yeah, lots of it, too.
Lots of it. To kick it all off, speaking of that, we are reaching out to race teams in Ontario, Canada to offer our services for the upcoming races at Flamborough Speedway, Oswego, and Delaware Speedway. We can take photos, videos, and audio interviews of your team. You can inquire at wideworldofmotorsports@gmail.com. And we'd love to be able to get out and to be able to cover the races. We haven't had races in so long, to be able to get back out there and get what happens on the track back out to the community. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Yeah, and it's good to hear that things are rolling again with the APC series starting in July. Some rumblings of... This is rumblings, not official at all, and I haven't heard it from any official source. But NASCAR Pinty Series looking to start August 1st, so hoping that we'll be getting racing sometime in the next month or so. So we're awesome. Throwing ourselves back out there. We've changed a little bit since the last time we were at track, but I think that we got a better package. We got a good team that we can come out and cover these races and get people back, get some more butts in seats too. That's another important thing. I'm sure a lot of these promoters they're eager to get people back into the crowd, and
definitely, yeah.
And I also think that's important too. I would also like to help these short tracks to be able to be successful with coming back from COVID. That was crazy. That's crazy. COVID's crazy. But yeah, so on that, also shout out to there's a cool podcast series right now, CTMP 60, of the 60th anniversary of Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And there's a cool little podcast up there that hosts Ron Fellows, who's the son of the owner. Or sorry, the owner is Ron, the son is Sam. So that's cool that he's putting together a podcast, and they talked about they found out that there was a car club race just in some of the early days at Mosport, and it's cool to find out where it all started there. And
no, that's cool.
And I don't even know if it didn't even look like there was much of a track at that point. So that's really cool. Cool little podcast to check out.
Yeah, I'll have to take a listen.
Yeah, I always love the history and the local tracks here, especially when it's Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's a historic track, so them being able to celebrate 60 years, gotta be able to. We gotta shout out their 60 years. So that's cool, real cool. So so we recorded just recently. We're starting to get back into the mix of things, but a lot, as you mentioned, a lot has happened since we. Our last episode was posted.
Yeah. It's been really actually busy, freakishly busy.
Yeah, there was at points during the weekend where it was race after race, or there was never a point where there was no race, like all day. So there was racing at Texas all day. There was racing in Detroit all day. There was some stuff going on, and we'll get to in Stafford. There was also some dirt track stuff going on as well over in the east. So there was lots of stuff going on throughout the day. I was watching racing from noon to midnight for 12 straight hours. Not a bad day, but yeah. And then it was Sunday too with that second INDYCAR race and the All-Star race.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good busy weekend, and I watched it all. It was solid. All started off with John Hunter Nemechek winning for Kyle Busch Motorsports once again this season. He's got 4 victories. Yeah.
He's been on a bit of a roll.
Now the points leader, after Ben Rhodes, who started second, led the opening lap. Nemechek was on point for the remainder of the first stage on lap 8. Sheldon Creed got loose in the PJ1, which has been a big issue, and we'll potentially get to that in a little bit about the PJ1 at Texas. That compound has been an issue, and in turn 2, it caused Sheldon to spin up into the wall, and another spin on lap 22 as well for him ended his day. Ray Ciccarelli, hope I'm saying that right, his spin on lap 34 ended the stage under caution. Nemechek, Hill, Rhodes were at the top to round off that race. So stage. Gilliland took the lead to begin the second stage, losing it to Chase Elliott, who everyone thought he was going to have some sort of a bigger piece in that race, but he just didn't. He, as he said after the race, he puts himself in a I think he said he puts himself in a square or something like that. He even in the trucks, or whatever he does at Texas, it feels like he's putting himself in a. He's not racing to his full potential. So,
no, that's why, and that's one of the reasons why he ran the truck race, just to get that that little bit more experience in it.
Right. And he became the stage leader for stage 3 on lap 109. Nemechek took the lead, and then for the rest of the way, as the stage ran green to his 4th win of the year. And it's looking good for Kyle Busch Motorsports in the Truck Series, especially for young Nemechek. He's definitely a top 4 guy in the chase for the Truck Series already.
Oh, yeah, you can't. I mean, he's definitely going for the championship. But he's on good form. I don't know if somebody's going to beat him. He's in a strong truck too, right? That helps.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. He's got the equipment to back him, and continuing on with that, with Kyle Busch in the Xfinity race following that, he got his 99th career victory. And as much as people think he's if he even gets another win, he's got races scheduled already in the works with some sponsors for next season.
Wow.
So he was full of it on that. If he won his 100th race, he would put it up. He would put up the boots and he would hang up the gloves in the Xfinity series. That ain't gonna happen. But whatever.
No.
He won that race, and any race Kyle Busch is in, you just assume he's gonna win. And he
in that series, definitely.
Yeah, he held off series regular Justin Allgaier just by a little bit in overtime to earn his 2nd series win, and it just is as many races as he started this year. So Busch led the last 32 laps, but had to work through some late restarts, and it's technically marked kind of with John Hunter winning and Busch winning. That was it's a team win, so there's two wins for them, and he led a race best 94 of 171 laps. He had some good pushes on the starts. He had Cindric behind him, who definitely, even Kyle said at the end in the post-race interview, thanked him for that. And taking some of those lessons learned going into Sunday, it was his 10th overall, Busch's 10th overall Xfinity Series win at Texas. And he's also has 4 NASCAR Cup Series and 5 Camping World Truck Series wins going into that Sunday race. So that was the 300th win for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity and Cup ranks.
Wow.
And just behind,
those are some good numbers.
Yeah. And you want to be racing for Joe Gibbs or Kyle Busch Racing if you're
if you're in the Xfinity series.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And and going into just behind Allgaier and Cindric at the checker flag were other Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, Daniel Hemrick and Brandon Jones rounding out the top 5. Dinger, Gregson, Moffitt, Haley, Ennett completing the top 10 for that race. And the top 10 result was especially significant for Noah Gragson the driver of the number 9 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet. His job at Texas was able to get him from a 30th place start to a 7th place finish. And he's had a couple of last few rough races, so that he's had 3 consecutive DNFs this season, so that's a good run for Gregson.
Yeah. He's been unlucky, and I think he's put himself in some of those unlucky positions. But
right.
He is a good driver.
And all this is happening. No, you're good. All this is happening in the NTT INDYCAR Series. Race 1 at Detroit was going down, and I was loving it. It's other than the Toronto Honda Indy. That's got it. Like that's basically Canada to me because you could. It's like 100 yards or so away from Canada. It's right in the middle of Detroit River. So, it's close for me, and I really like watching that. When they race, it's like a park, but they end up turning the streets into a street circuit. So it's got so much. It's so unique. It's an island. It's on an island. God damn it. But for Marcus Ericsson, the Swede pulled off a pretty good race there. Held off Renus VK and Pat O'Ward.
Yeah.
In the 3-lap dash to the checker flag. After the second red flag of the event, quite some stuff went down. Ericsson was in second.
Yeah.
When cars entered pit road for a red flag period caused when Roman Grosjean, or as I call him Grosjean. Grosjean. He crashed in with only just 6 laps to go in the race, so there's a late race start there. And
Ericsson, did you see that him calling
trying
for the
to put it out? He went off to
the
side to like one of the flag marshals, and it's interesting because the guy knew he was coming to it. The guy grabs the extinguisher and slips it through and
slips it to him.
But the safety guy's like, nah,
no,
again.
We got this.
But you're good.
It was just funny to see him come after try to put it in the car. I mean, that's not
fire
an
don't scare him
thing,
clearly, right? Yeah, but you think he'd go, he'd give it a little space.
But he's definitely not afraid.
And even more interesting, Ericsson took the lead on pit lane when the number 12 of Will Power, he couldn't get it. He was dying anyways. He was begging IndyCar to let them bring a fan in and to give him some water and whatnot to cool him down. And then he was freaking out. And then right when everything gets going again, he can't get it going. He wasn't able to get going. And that must, just imagine how crappy you're almost, I feel like it'd be claustrophobic feeling. I'm sure they get over that. You're hot, you just want to get out, you just want to air out, and then your freaking car won't going, you're in the lead. Like, oh man, that must have been the worst feeling.
Yeah, so those cars, that's actually been a issue since introducing the aero screen on the Indy cars, is that that the drivers are really hot in them.
Blistering.
And if you notice on some of the cars, they're starting to put some special ducting on the top of the cars or around the cars, and you'll see some of the drivers running that. Got this hose coming up over their shoulder. I mean, you see it in the Cup Series, right? And in sports cars, I particularly remember the Corvettes, but they have this hose coming to their helmet to give them fresh air. And then, his car wouldn't start on the grid, and that's really unfortunate because he led the most laps of the day.
You're right, and he should have won that race. But Ericsson pulled away, and he ultimately got that win. He had something coming for Power anyways. I'm sure Power would have held him off if it didn't happen, but Ericsson definitely deserved that when he had a piece, even though it feels like it was it's his first career win. It came in his 37th career start over 3 seasons. So for him to get, I feel happy for him. That was a good, and that's racing sometimes. That's why you just never give up, because who knows, you're in second place. Keep he kept going on during the race, and then he finds himself winning the race because he kept going. So never give up, kids.
Well, I've said multiple times on the podcast that you can't take that win away from Ericsson, right?
Right.
He did his job. He was there
exactly
to pick up the pieces, and unfortunately to Penske and Power, it cost them. Apparently, they just released today that Team Penske completed an investigation into why the car wouldn't start.
Electrical failure.
Citing extreme temperatures below the bodywork on the hot, humid day. Yeah. They weren't getting enough fans, and according to Power, the main culprit for losing was an overheated engine control unit, so an ECU.
Okay.
Which is weird why it happened to him and nobody else or no other Penskes, but unfortunately, that's just what. It's an unfortunate thing too, because I really like Will Power, and he's a great driver and he's a good champion, and I think sometimes he just has the worst luck.
Seems like it.
Just things don't go his way. But yeah, it was a good run for Marcus. Really, really happy to see Marcus, finally come out and win a race.
Well, and for Chip Ganassi, he's pretty happy because due to some of the stoppage during that INDYCAR race, with IMSA having to be kind of delayed as well, the start of that. Mm-hmm. So they started a bit later, and obviously it probably cooled down a bit. I'm sure it was still unbearable, but in IMSA at Belle Isle, racing all day at Belle Isle on Saturday, with Kevin Magnussen and Renger van der Zande, or whatever they call him.
You got that, Renger van der Zande. Yeah, you got that.
They took the number 1 Cadillac to victory lane in the Chevrolet Sports Car Classic. It's the 60th sports car victory for Ganassi, but the team's first at Belle Isle.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's big for Chip Ganassi. Geez, for Chip Ganassi Racing, to be come here and win, especially with Kevin. First season, he doesn't know Belle Isle. I don't think Kevin has ever seen Belle Isle, so that's really good for them. Cadillacs were strong here. They're really, really strong.
The duo, they finished ahead of the Action Express Cadillac, and as well of the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Acura, which scored its 3rd DPI podium finish through 4 races.
Yeah, they're really strong with that Acura. It's interesting to see how strong they've been running with that Acura compared to how the Penske's ran that Acura. I'm not saying that Wayne Taylor's organization is doing better, but they seem to be they seem to be getting a little bit more out of the car, and that could be because it's been through 4 years of development, and now it's really starting to pay off. But then again, Penske did win the championship with that Acura, but it's unfortunate to see the other Acura finish down here in 6th position, last in the DPIs.
This is the first season together for Magnussen and van der Zande, who teamed up about 2 months before the season began, when CGR decided to enter the premier division of IMSA. So they, looking good for them, and they're
getting ready for a big new program.
Right, and in the GTD division, the number 39 Peregrine, is it Peregrine Racing Peregrine. Audi Peregrine, something like that. Yeah. Racing Audi R8 crossed the finish line first, but was moved to the rear of the field when a post-race audit showed the team's refueling was faster than the minimum listed on the balance of performance table for the class, according to IMSA, of course. Yeah. That handed the victory to number 23 Heart of Racing team of Ross Gunn and Roman De Angelis, giving Aston Martin its first victory in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship competition.
Yeah. And a Canadian, Roman DeAngelis, Canadian. Fantastic. This kid, he was amazing in Porsche Cup. Like he ran Porsche Cup North America, he ran Porsche Cup USA, he ran Porsche Cup Canada, and he dominated. He wiped the floor with everybody. So, it's great to see a Canadian on the top step.
In the exhibition GTLM division, the number 4 C8R Corvette finished ahead of its number 3 Corvette racing counterpart, which it was just like they were just having fun that race basically.
This is the first time ever that Corvette has raced at Belle Isle. So traditionally this weekend is next is it this weekend or next weekend? It's a goofy, but this is the time of year for Le Mans. And in the past, they've only ever run the prototype in the GTD class here because all of the GTLM cars were usually getting ready to race in France. Right. And it's quite traditional that after this race, a lot of the drivers that were running for the 24 hours, they'd all get on the same jet and they'd fly over because Sunday was traditionally the test day. And especially if you'd never run there, you had to be there. So GTLM was just never at this track. And this race wasn't for points for them. It wasn't for anything other than running a Chevy underneath the General Motors headquarters, in the shadow there on the track. So, but it was kind of cool to see them around there.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was going to end up getting late enough where they're going to have to. Well, they got lights, right? So I thought that would have been cool to see. I was hoping that was going to happen. I was going to see it. Yeah, it would be. Continuing off with the Saturday night and ending it off with the Camping World SRX Series, the Superstar Racing Experience, which is now officially underway. It's all started at Stafford Speedway on Saturday, where it hosted the inaugural race for the Short Track Spec Series. By the end, local star and 6-time NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion Doug Coby successfully held off the full-time drivers to win. And it all started off with the heat races. Under the SRX format, 2 15-minute heat races were held that awarded points. A random draw placed the NASCAR Cup Series veteran Craig Biffle on the pole for the first heat. Biffle, who was in a ringer car, had a very nice showing in the number 69 car, which is funny, he's running 69. When he led every lap of the first heat, in case for people didn't know, just Google his legal issues. The lone incident of the race came when Michael Waltrip spun Paul Tracy, which I couldn't believe I saw and I was witnessing. Yeah. It was like, it was coming out of my words like, Michael Waltrip spun Paul Tracy. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What world?
That was interesting.
What world are we in here? Forcing Marco Andretti to stop to avoid contact as well. So Marco kind of got in there, and in a battle that have brought up some memories of NASCAR back in my day. Biffle battled with Bobby Labonte throughout the heat, and the latter would finish second. So that was cool to see those guys battle again.
Yeah.
So they got a field immersion.
All those guys.
Oh yeah, and so it's really cool to hearing Alan Bestwick in the studio again was real good, and with hearing Danica Patrick, which is a little weird because there's some comments she made which I questioned. So they were saying Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. That's what Alan Bestwick said, and then Danica Patrick was like, "That's what they called him." I was like, "Are you being like?" I was like, "I think she knows. I think she knows." That's what they call him, Awesome Bill.
Though, right? Like she's not. This isn't the world she came from, right? She was open wheel. I think we might take that for granted a little bit. When was he Awesome Bill from Dawsonville in the 80s and 90s? Like how?
Well, he raced till mid 2000s, right?
Yeah, but
But yeah,
I mean, he was always Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. But
yeah,
I mean, when he was Bill Elliott, like big time, would have been through the '90s, right? And maybe
but
she
yeah,
should have known that. But anyways, uh, maybe she was joking. I don't know.
yeah, and because I think, well, I don't know, let's say I'm a Danica fan, but I think that's her sense of humor, and I like that. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
so I think I got what she was doing, and I feel like CBS just said show up and just do what you do, because I guess with the experience that Danica's had calling the 500s the last 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. I guess
Yeah.
that was enough TV experience for her. And they gave her, I guess they just gave them a page of a script. And it was so interesting because there's a point in the race where they had to throw a caution to bunch it up. And I don't know why they spent 2 minutes talking on TV. They were like, what should we call this? We know what word we don't want to call. And they're like trying to refer to obviously NASCAR and competition cautions.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like making it so obvious, like, oh well, what do we call this? A fun caution,
Yeah.
back up caution, like what?
I heard some other people talking about that this week, and they were talking about how some series they run if the race runs 70%, the first 70% of the race under green flag, then they throw a competition caution. But if there's a caution at any other point in the race, like before that 70%, then they don't do it.
Right.
And it was kind of one of those, I don't know how I feel about it. If you're good enough on the day to, lap the entire field, then, why do you get punished? Like,
Yeah.
why do you get punished? I heard Kyle Petty said this a while ago, or in an interview one time, and I kind of think it fits this. He hates the lucky dog. He thinks it's the worst rule in NASCAR. He goes, to his point was, you bust your ass for 100 laps, and you run hard and you lap these guys, and then a caution comes out and they get a free pass. Well, what do I get? I just led the race. I just put them a lap down. I'm the one that did all the work. What do they get? I don't get anything. How is that fair? And I think that it's kind of the same thing. Like, that only benefits everyone second on back, and I guess it benefits the fans, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's an entertainment business, and
totally. This is totally entertainment. This series.
Yeah, and if it's not entertaining, then nobody's gonna watch it, right? Like, as good as cool as it is, and as novel as it is, at some point the novelty will wear off if it's just not entertaining.
Right.
So I get it. Is it in the true spirit of racing? Probably not, but I would say there's a lot of things that aren't in the true spirit of what it was before. But anyways,
and back in the day, apparently, yeah. But back in the day, I guess there was such thing as apparently a promoter's caution, or
I've heard that.
And I think it would be more like, okay, well, this, you can just call it that, but really it's the series calling the caution. But just say promoter's choice, whereas so people will just put, if they're gonna blame anyone, they'll just, well, it'll be basically the track's call. Like, they're like the third party. Like, they're.
Yeah.
I think that would be good to call it, and especially if they have a guy racing who owns the track, like, go for it. Call it promoter's choice.
The only thing I would say is I think they should have to call the lap that they're going to throw the comp caution,
right,
before the race starts.
Yeah,
because then it could be seen that the person's trying to give somebody an advantage, right? It could look that way, but anyways.
And there's already a bit of that too.
Ruin the race.
There already is a bit of that too with the SRX, because we'll get to that in a second. But obviously, with there was a point where Biffle had to go to a backup car, and there was lesser used tires on it. But another thing here is I found out that as far as I know, they're going to get a set of tires each race. Not sure, but maybe not. Maybe they're reusing tires from I doubt it though. I think they get a new set every race, which is a lot of money, and it adds up. They're not able to just go in the pits and just get a fresh set of tires. And not only that, not everyone has a pit crew. So it looks like there's just one crew of guys, or a big crew of guys who can work on multiple cars at once. And they do look like they're relatively easy to work on. They were working on repairs for Andretti's car and Paul Tracy's car. And they were trying to get, some at one point with Biffle's car. And then they end up saying, because they have 2 backup cars, which I think is really cool. Something that, you just go, okay, well, your guy's out. Well, they get to still race.
Yeah.
And I think that was very unique. I wasn't sure why they just didn't change I wonder why. Maybe the tires were flat spot or something, but to put the tires that he ran on the one car and then changing it to his backup car.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really sure why they would have done that either.
Guessing everything's to save money. Like no spotters, everything's off of their intuition, which I think that's really awesome. They get
a crew chief, so
right.
I'll admit that I listened to a
apparently if it's random,
today.
They set it at random.
What?
They set at the selection of crew chiefs at random every race, so that way it's not like the same guys doing the same.
So then I listening to a different podcast today. They had Doug Colby on for an interview, and he was just talking about it because they asked him the same question about spotters and whatnot. And he said, "Well, I had my crew chief in my ear, for quite a bit." Giving me lap times and stuff like that. He goes, but I didn't get to talk to him the whole time because he was also crew chiefing like 2 or 3 other cars
right
at the same time. So, the crew chief would switch through channels and whatnot. But anyways, yeah, it's a good setup. Like the cars look pretty robust. Oh, it's hard to say that because like, did Paul Tracy, I didn't really see, did he get hit? Like, I know he got spun, but then did somebody run into him?
Yes.
Like, head on?
Andretti, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see that part.
They do. So they fixed him up, and they, he ran fine when they inverted them and they started the next stage. But I think it's so interesting that they don't have spotters, but I'm wondering if it comes down to saving money. And I'm wondering if you would think that if some of these guys would know some guys that would love to just get some of that experience of working with some of these guys under their belt to say, hey, I spotted for Paul Tracy or Bobby Labonte or whatever, I wonder if that's, I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out, but just obviously speculating with that, with what we know. Yeah. You'd think same thing with the tires. You think Paul Tracy posting pictures on his Instagram and Twitter with a few ladies on his boat, his yacht. You think he wouldn't mind to throw in a few grand for the races he's running or what? But at the same time, you don't want to lean on your drivers to pay it. They don't want to do it. But you would think Paul Tracy would have a few grand to shell out for a set of tires. But I don't know. Maybe like that. Maybe it is. Maybe they want to do that. Because I'd understand that there's a lot of grassroots series that do have rules where they have one set of tires, or they're only allowed to have one new tire per race or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, and that's to keep costs down.
Right.
I mean, if you're building a racing series and you're concerned about the cost of tires,
yeah,
there's bigger issues there, right? So but that doesn't mean you need to just spend money willy-nilly. Like, it just doesn't mean anything. A set of tires for the race, and then what do they get? A different set of tires for practice? Do they get 2 sets, or do they?
I think it's just one set.
So they practice on that set and then race it. So they do, 100 laps, 2 12-minute races, right? The heats are both like 12 minutes long.
Right.
And they got what, 15? What did they get in at Stafford? Well, the first one they went under caution. The second, what did they get? Like 15 laps, or no, more than that. What's a lap there? 23 seconds, for them. But anyways, I'm just it's curious. And I wonder how different the tires are. I know they're Goodyear Eagles, which I'm actually kind of surprised about, with it being such a.
And what I've heard Tony Stewart say over the years on his in-car scanners, I'm also surprised he's using Goodyear.
Yeah, like I really thought they would have used like Hoosier, because that's
right.
a big short track. It's a short track tire, and that's use those in dirt, right? And they're running the SRX on dirt, so I'm surprised they're not running Hoosier.
But or both, maybe.
Or maybe, well, yeah, I mean, but Goodyear does make a dirt tire. I mean, we see it on the trucks. We saw it on the Cup cars this year. But it's an interesting series. I do really enjoy it.
Absolutely.
I
loved
to
it.
See the next one.
And so continuing off with we're just talking in the middle of stage one here, and a field inversion placed Tracy in his damaged car alongside Willie T. Ribs, while Biffle had to work his way from the back. Waltrip took the lead on the opening lap, while Kobe gave he was taken off, and Biffle's race abruptly was halted when Ribs spun, and he was impacted from behind by Elio Castroneves, forcing him to a backup car for the feature. Waltrip continued to lead at the restart with 2 minutes remaining, but Kobe passed him on the final lap to win, and that was really cool, seeing Waltrip half a track ahead, and he even said post-race, post-right, which was cool. They did it old school too. The interviewers on pit road walked up to the car, stuck their hand in put the microphone kind of under the helmet so that you can hear them old school style. You haven't seen that in a few years. So I like that. And then, Mikey talking, saying everything hurts, his butt hurts, but he said he was looking in the rearview mirror, and it kind of brought him back. He said it's been a while since he was able to just look everyone at his rearview mirror. And I thought that was really cool. I really dug that. I'm like, wow, like Michael Waltrip's having the ride of his life today.
Yeah. It's good. I'm glad to see, because I don't know, has Mike raced anything since he retired from NASCAR?
He's done charity events and stuff like that, but nothing kind of serious like this.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's not crazy serious, but I mean, these guys are taking this serious. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
these are some of the best racers. These guys are competitors, and some of them have raced with each other before, and some of them have really wanted to race each other for a long time, and putting these guys together in the feature race, I felt it was a little lengthy at points. I think they did good with going to commercial breaks and with the presentation, although I found it hard to keep track of some drivers. I guess I'll get used to their colors eventually, but it'd be nice if they color coded it on the ticker at the top, just so just kind of what they do on NASCAR. Just have the number in the background, whatever color is their main color on their car. That would be nice.
I have one strike against the series.
Go for it.
And that is the paint schemes.
The gray is questionable for me.
I think they missed the mark a little bit on. I don't have a solution. Like, I don't know what they should have painted on the cars, or what graphics they should have put on the cars.
I think instead of gray, black.
But
Kobe's car looked cool though. I thought that kind of that red and white camo. I thought that looked kind of cool. I was like, that'd be cool, little diecast.
I just thought the other cars were a little boring, and I would have much preferred to see. I don't know. I would just something different. Not sponsors. Maybe series sponsors, and not personal sponsors, like not car sponsors, right? Like, they could have had more Camping World graphics on the cars. They could have had more, I don't even know what the other.
Who knows? Maybe they're just trying to not be like NASCAR so much, where they didn't want to cramp up, the livery.
Yeah, but they could have. You know what? They have this as this like throwback short track. All-Star series.
They had one of the founders of IROC at the beginning. Like he said, "Gentlemen, start your engines." Like,
yeah,
they're for sure throwing it back to IROC.
Paint the cars like old school street stocks, or paint the cars like old school. I mean, I guess they kind of went old school with like IROC series, and it'd be like how they were when they were painted. I don't know. I think how you're saying the other part of just having their colors a little bit better is maybe having the entire car
just that
their color with a black X on it or something, right?
Yeah.
They keep the X, but then make the rest of the car their color, because I think that might stand out a little bit more as well. And I would have liked to see their names bigger on the car.
Yeah, I thought that too, because I was trying to figure out who was who and
who's who, and you're looking at the ticker, and you're like, oh, okay, he's in fourth, and you're trying to figure out who's in fourth, and then somebody's
kind of lost. You're kind of lost at that point, It's like, yeah. But I thought there was a couple. I liked Tracy's, and I kind of liked Michael's paint scheme. I liked those. I was like, and Kobe's. I was like, I'm gonna probably look for those if they're ever in diecast, but who knows if they'll make those. But what you could paint those cars, whatever, though it won't change what happens on the track. And I like how they handled. There was since this was the first race, and I'm sure in the second race they'll probably treat the tires a little bit better earlier on, because I think that's what was creating a lot of the distance. Was some guys were just wearing out their tires differently than some other guys were, and not only that, a couple guys, this is their first time in a stock car, so I guess there's a lot of figuring. I'm sure when it goes to, I think they're going to a dirt track next week at Knoxville, so that's going to be interesting to see them go from that to that. But
Knoxville's fast. I mean, that's a fast,
right? Yeah,
badass dirt track.
I think Stewart could go there, but at the top of as the top two in Heat 2, Kobe and Waltrip, they were at the front row to start the 100 lap feature. Biffle, who, as I said earlier, he went back into a backup car. It was unmarked, and it had 30 laps or 34 lap run tires from a practice session. So maybe they do get different tires, if that answers that. He had to start last. Okay. Bill Elliott's car lost fuel pressure during pace laps and resulted in a delayed start. He would ultimately end up retiring from the race after 9 laps. Interesting, because that was the car number he was running. Kobe led the first 4 laps before Waltrip spun after a bump from Ernie Francis Jr. The restart took place on lap 9 with Kobe and Stewart, who battled with one another until Andretti took the lead on lap 3. Took the lead on a 3-wide pass. Biffle completed his climb through the field. A lot of people were saying that's not fair. He's got fresher tires, and that maybe was the case. But with this series, it's whatever. So he took the lead on lap 15, and he led 8 laps. But Kobe, he retook the lead from.
Can we go back to that for a second?
Sure.
Like that thought, it's not fair. Okay, so what's fair? How do you make that fair? You either lose a car you either make it fair and say, okay, well, you're out, so you don't get to race anymore, and you lose not only a top-notch driver who won the first race, right, the first heat, you lose a car from the car count. You're not going to put them all on fresh tires, because that's going to be too expensive. And you put them out in the car and let them go. Yeah,
and that's why so many people said that. But I also think that's why that's what makes the series so unique. And I think that won't be. I think that really wasn't much of an argument on social media, but there obviously was people challenging that. But and they even let Bill Elliott. They made sure that he can get his car going again. They delayed the pace laps a bit because they want everyone in it, and that's fine. That's what's going into the series, but. When Kobe retook the position, they raced for a little bit, and they had that competition caution quarrel. And then at that point, it kind of looked like that was it from there. There was a couple of wrecks. Sanchetti spun out from a tap from fellow INDYCAR series driver Castro Neves. Waltrip was black flagged due to damage. Biffle led the first 2 laps of the restart before Kobe reclaimed the top spot, and he just ran away with it. And
he wasn't going to be beat. I mean, that's his track.
Yeah, it's his track. So, but the second race will take place next Saturday at Knoxville, and we'll see how it goes. We'll for sure cover that. I'll be watching that for sure next week.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. To that race.
Yeah, I'm really into this series for sure. I think it's one of the. It really kind of almost re-sparked my. I was like, hey, I love racing. This is why I like racing.
Well, yeah, it's unique. It's you get to see some kick-ass drivers battle against each other.
Yeah, I pulled out my Tony Stewart shirt after not wearing it for. I'm surprised I could still fit into it. Jeez. Like he's pulling out an old shirt, it's like that's pretty cool. Like, I used to rock this. Like,
yeah, and it truly is. I think a new IROC series, right? What other series do you get to see? What other series you get to see? The Indy 500 champion for the year.
Yeah,
and. Bill Elliott, NASCAR champion, Tony Stewart, NASCAR champion, Bobby Labonte, NASCAR champion, Ernie Francis Jr. I know a lot of people don't know who that is, but he's a 7-time Trans Am champion, and he's only like 23 or something like that. It's stupid.
They got a good mix in that series, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's good. Is it all the same drivers at the next one?
It'll switch up. I'm not sure it'll switch up every race. There's a different couple of drivers, but there's mostly a main cast. It'll be mostly like the same guys, but there's they got a ringer and they got a local guy. So it'll be interesting to see in Knoxville.
Think about is that how far is Stafford from Belle Isle?
Probably. I'm not sure.
Oh, wait a second. No, Elio didn't race at Belle Isle. Sorry. That's my fault. I was thinking that Elio, raced at Detroit, flew to Stafford, ran Stafford, and then flew back to Detroit. But I'm sorely mistaken.
Oh.
But you know who would have done is Paul Tracy, unless they're...
No, he wasn't there either that day. Michael Waltrip did fly back to Texas though for the Sunday race. So Waltrip was hurting while he was interviewing guys on pit road for the All-Star race.
Tracy wasn't doing any of the commentating?
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah, he's doing select races this year for commentating in the IndyCar Series. Speaking of, Pat O'Ward took the Antique IndyCar Series lead with a drive full of he's looking like he's got championship caliber. He passed Joseph Newgarden with 3 laps remaining to win the Chevrolet Duel in Detroit, race 2. Yeah. And he became the first 2-time winner this season, breaking the streak of a different winner every race. Mexican driver O'Ward, who started 16, powered away from 2-time series champion Newgarden. And that was after a decisive pass. So he leads the championship by 1 point after Alex Palou, who finished 3rd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paddle finished 3rd in the first race and won this race. Man, he's a force to be reckoned with.
He's a good win for that team too. After race 1. Because race 1 with Felix and his pretty bad looking wreck. So, that was a good win. O'Ward dedicated that win to him, I thought that was really cool.
Nice, yeah, and apparently Felix is doing better.
Yep,
doing well.
That's good. Probably won't. I would think he'll make the next race. Should be good.
I think so. I think so. The one that's in question now is Palou.
Yeah, with him having a cycling accident, breaking his clavicle. I say he's not racing because that's going to hurt racing that.
I really think there's a good chance that, depending on, I mean, I know those doctors are super good, especially those at those Indy doctors. But I mean, there's a really good chance he's there for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that'll
I'll
be
be surprised if he's racing at Road America.
That'll be surprising.
I'll be really surprised.
Yeah. With that though, Sunday again with more racing that day. Kyle Larson, he was back in the NASCAR All-Star race after obviously him being off a year, being basically in his last two starts he's won, kind of back to back for him. Sure. Larson held off a hard-charging Brad Keselowski during the final 10-lap shootout at Texas on Sunday night. And it was after a 3-wide pass to get back in front from a push from Hendrick Motorsports to his second consecutive win and 10th overall in the annual non-points race with a huge prize, $1 million on the line. Defending All-Star winner and reigning Cup champion Chase Elliott, who started the sixth and final segment out front, didn't stay out for long. Larson pushed his way up there, and that they were 3 wide while Keselowski pulled ahead briefly at the line before Larson finally got back ahead. So.
Yeah, it seemed like Brad was the only one that had
something else.
Might have had a shot at him that like of the non-Hendrick cars,
right?
But you know, also I heard from other sources at the track that the Hendrick cars were able to pretty much run wide open around there, and everybody else was having to lift and you know, go in the corners. So. You know, Kyle Larson's amazing. I don't want to take anything away from him because he's adapted to this car amazingly. Like I thought he was going to win one. I really didn't think he was going to go.
Third weekend in a row and fourth time overall this season.
Yeah, like that's unbelievable. And you know, especially with the new crew chief, and I forget his crew chief's name, but I think this is his first year as a crew chief. Is it not?
Who? Larson?
Larson's
no.
Crew chief? Who did his crew chief?
I don't have that info in front of me.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It's just it's really impressive. I'm really impressive. But those cars, those Hendrick cars, like, I mean, if they're not getting torn apart every weekend, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Like, why? Have you heard anything? Do you know what's going on with them?
Keselowski said just running second to them is somewhat of an accomplishment at this point in the season. So, with Larson winning with a different team in 2019 and then winning with a different team in 2021, and obviously missing last year. Yeah,
I think he got better. I think he got better.
Probably,
honestly,
for sure.
That dirt racing just changed him. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it's just so
he bounced back real good,
unbelievably amazing.
Second in points with 10 races to go before the playoffs. Now the only 8th driver to be a 2-time All-Star winner.
Oh wow, good for him.
So, you know, $1 million.
But what did you think about the racing?
So with the PJ1 at Texas, they need to figure something out there. And INDYCAR can't even race there. I'm glad they're switching out the All-Star race every year. Let's just say that.
INDYCAR can't even get out of the bottom groove.
Yeah, I'm just glad they're switching it up every year.
Yeah, I would.
Let's just put it that way. And it was the hottest race on record at Texas. Of course, with Sammy Hagar starting that race, it had to have been, but it was definitely. I thought that was cool. But yeah, it was the hottest on record at Texas, and the entire time they've ever raced there. So that was another thing they were battling too, I'm sure, and with how the track heat was, it was like 150 Fahrenheit. So
well, and then the other issue, the other big issue is, you know, the Speedway weren't allowing people to bring coolers in, and there's a lot of issue with the heard more than one area or one section or whatever you want to say of people talking about this being an issue, that it's you know, when it's over 100 degrees like that, like you can't not let people bring stuff in and then have people, you know, paying $8 for a bottle of water.
Well, and check this out, they had the seats that are covered by there's shade seats, so you know, but they covered that off just apparently real, like just like the other week, and they covered it off with like this big like all these signs of whatever's happened at the track.
Really?
Yeah, so the people couldn't even sit in the shade. So yeah, that was questionable, and that's going back to how, you know, Eddie Gossage and we'll leave on this episode talking about who is the track owner, and he was chosen by Speedway Motorsports to oversee back when the groundbreaking happened in 1995. And not a lot of people apparently in that area, locals to that track, they're not a fan of Gossage. And he is apparently been considering stepping down, and he is apparently stepping down soon. So there, you know, he obviously ultimately was his choice to change the track to the way it was. Probably not a good choice. There's a lot of questionable decisions in the last few seasons, and obviously, you know, I wonder.
He's a good promoter too. That's the thing.
Sure.
He's always done something unique, something big, something very Texas.
I mean, even for the first nighttime All-Star race, one of his stunts was to set Bruton Smith's hair on fire. I mean, he's done some questionable things, but I want to reach out to our audience, and I want to hear what people have to say, what they feel about Eddie Gossage, and what they'd like to see happen to Texas. To end off here, I'm just going to say, get rid of the PJ1. What about you? Can't pass here. Yeah. Change the, maybe that's something to do with the turns.
The PJ1. I think I don't know if they got rid. This is what NASCAR needs to do: more horsepower, less downforce. Get rid of the PJ1, and make the drivers have to drive the cars again. I think that would. I think a lot of the issues that we as fans have with the sport, I think honestly would be really solved in a lot of that right there.
Interesting what you folks have to say. Sound off in the comments wherever you're watching this, or reach us on social media at the WWOMS, and you can check us out on your favorite streaming service, past episodes and future episodes, and of course episodes of the Mayhem Racing League podcast, which you should check out. Race with us on iRacing. Want to see you out there. See you around the bend, folks.
Hi, this is Alex Tagliani, NASCAR Pinty Series driver. You're tuned in from the track to the community on Wide World of Motorsports, the #1 motorsport show in the community. Sports show in the community. Sports show in the community.